Let me read to you Sahih Muslim, which is part of Islamic scripture about adult breastfeeding. This might seem confusing at first, but I'll explain it after. So here's the hadith. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that Sahla bint Sohail came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and said, Messenger of Allah, I see on the face of Abu Hudayfa signs of disgust on entering of Salim, who is an ally, into our house. Whereupon Prophet Muhammad said, Suckle him. She said, How can I suckle him, as he is a grown-up man? Prophet Muhammad smiled and said, I already know he is a young man. What I just read is one of many Islamic hadiths dedicated to the topic of breastfeeding an adult. The hadith describes how, via suckling, an adult male can become a female's mahram and thus be allowed to accompany her in private. In Islam, adult men and women can't look at each other or be with each other in private unless they are each other's mahram. So as a grown-up man, you can drink a woman's milk to establish a legal mother-son relationship with her. Here's the issue though. How can a grown-up man suck on a woman's nipples when she is not yet a mahram to him? Some Muslims suggest that maybe you can drink her milk in a cup, but the hadith specifically mentions suckling, so you have to suck on a nipple. The well-known Islamic scholar Albani solved this by explaining that a woman's nipple is black and therefore ugly and not sexually attractive to men. So it can't be a sin to suck on it. So an adult man can suck on a woman's nipple to drink her milk and thus be allowed to accompany her in private. I think all of this makes Islam look very, very ridiculous. But if you think Islam is not ridiculous, then call in and tell us why, because the show is starting right now. Hello, everybody. We're starting another. This is the last show of the year, so glad to be with all of you here. Welcome, everyone. Today is December 17th, 2023. I am your host, Armin Navabi, and joining me today is Christy. Hi, Christy.
Howdy. I've been doing pretty well. I was excited to be on the show this morning. I've heard a adult man use the word suckle 3 times in the last 2 minutes, and so I'm a little uncomfortable, but I think I'm ready to get into it.
I'm sorry. It's the hadith. I'm just reading it, but yeah.
We're here to do a job. Sometimes that job involves cleaning up a lot of shit.
Yeah, true. What do you think about that hadith? Have you heard this before?
Yeah, it's a pretty wild ride. I very much appreciate when people are trying to read scripture and they're trying to understand it and they recognize just how incompatible it is, and they come to these wild conclusions, like, for instance, that black nipples are unappealing sexually. Like, that cannot be a agreed upon universal statement. I don't want to call anybody out, but I just want to suggest that some people might find black nipples appreciable.
Yeah. And what about pink ones? So what if somebody has pink nipples? I think like
it's just not an option. Yeah, no, there's some very real. These are the deep existential questions that I come here to discuss with you.
It also sounds racist, doesn't it? Like, it's for black. Sure. So, yeah.
I just took it for granted that was like built in.
Right. Okay. But again, so many Muslims will tell you that, you know what, you find this ridiculous, but you don't understand that Islam is actually the most complete religion. This actually shows how amazing Islam is. No other religion answers every single question that you could ask. So this is not a reason to ridicule, but this is a reason to show that this is the final and the most complete religion that there is.
You know,
So
I went to a Christian school, and it's amazing to me just how many things I was taught were unique about Christianity. And this is how we know all the other religions are bullshit. And then
right.
you study any amount of comparative religion, and there are giant floods and virgin births and sacrificial people coming back to life all over the place.
Right. Yes. Yeah. By the way, I have so much more of this. There's so much more of this where it came from. So if you guys want me to start the cold opens with hadith, there's plenty of this. It's like never
Are they
stops.
all lactation related, or is that all the
Many
suckling
of
we're
them,
likely to get?
surprisingly,
A
many of them
surprising number.
are.
I feel like more than one. I feel like one was surprising, but we'll see where this goes.
There's a lot more. Some of them probably will violate community standards. So for that, maybe come to the Discord. I will tell you there. All right. So the Atheist Experience is a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. All good things. Before we get into the calls, I am going to mention the question of the week, the last question, and we're going to see what are the top answers that we have here. So so here was we wanted to give you, okay, so here's it is. Last week we asked you, what is an inappropriate thing to do or say at a holiday party? So the first one, I'm not going to be able to read these people's names. What are these usernames? I'm just going to read the answers. Inappropriate thing to say or do at a holiday party is this one. Instead of showing up as sexy Santa or sexy elf, show up as sexy Jesus. Why is that not appropriate? I think that's actually that fits the holiday seasons, no? Makes the, I don't know, is that
I mean,
why would that
for
be?
all of the time that that Christmas has spent like sort of bleeding over into Thanksgiving and eventually Halloween, I think that Halloween has a right to push back and bring some sexy costumes into another holiday. That's my hot take for the internet today.
Right, yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. Have you seen Jesus on crosses? It's pretty sexy. Like they usually
Always
make him
has
with
ripped abs.
Yeah,
gaunt looking sometimes, but you know, I'm into skinny dudes.
Yeah, and it's not very covered. So what are you doing on top of what Christians have been doing forever? Every single Jesus is always has a really sexy body. Is always
nipples
uncovered.
Exposed.
Yeah, nipples exposed. Exactly. So yeah, that's completely appropriate. Number 2, inappropriate thing to say at a holiday party. Let's play pin the spear on Jesus. Okay, now we're talking. Now I like that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And number 1, so number 1, the answer is, again, guys, sorry, I'm not reading these usernames. They're difficult to read. Which holiday, though? I'm pretty sure it would be inappropriate to bring a chainsaw to Arbor Day party. Yes, I'm offended. You managed to offend me. So I agree with this answer.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to take a moment and pronounce Miranda Rensberger's name just because that came up recently as a good thing to do. So I'm going to throw that out there.
Thank you. Okay, good. All right, so the prompt for this week. What is a minorly inconvenient way God punishes people? Ooh, I like this question. Do you have any answers for this?
Yeah, honestly, the best answer that I have is that a minorly inconvenient way that God punishes people is by making them forget to prepare for the question of the week and then be in front of a live audience and all of a sudden come up with some sort of bizarre meta answer to make it think like they thought about it beforehand. Yeah, that would be my answer, is when you get surprised by a question of the week on a show like this.
Are you sure you didn't prepare for that? I think you prepared. That was good, though.
That came up just now. Yeah,
good. Okay, that was pretty good answer. The first thing that, I don't know why it's bizarre, but the first thing, I can't be the only one. The first thing that came to my mind is flies just flying past your ear and making that sound.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It sounds like there's an airplane overhead and you start freaking out. I'm with you.
Yeah, okay. So it's not just me. All right, so guys, we need your answers in the comment section. Oh my god, I almost forgot to say, I just read the question, I forgot to tell people what to do with it. You need to post your answers in the comment section, and the top 3 will be picked for next show, and we will be reading them just like I did right now. All right, so let me see if we have any good calls. We have calls. Oh, yes. Let me go with Trees. There's a person calling us called Trees.
It's in Kansas.
Hello.
Let's do it.
Yes. Hi, Trees.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to be on. I have never called into any kind of show before, so I'm a little bit nervous and very excited.
Yeah, what's on your mind today?
So I was raised in a non-religious household, but was aware of, the basic ins and outs of a bunch of different theologies. And so for most of my life, I considered myself fairly well an atheist, kind of maybe agnostic, but atheist seems to be an easier term to use and not be misunderstood.
Sure.
And quite a few years ago, I had this ridiculously vivid dream. Slight backstory, I've had lucid dreams since I was about 5. It's a really strong thing for me. So I had this dream where I met what in my mind could really only be defined as, and this is literally for lack of better terms, God. Mm-hmm. And in this meeting with God, it kind of reaffirmed a lot of even mainstream atheist standpoint. The way it happened, so basically, I guess my question is, I'm stuck in this really interesting contradiction where I still feel and function on a day-to-day basis like an atheist, but then at the same time, I would be lying to myself if I said that I didn't meet something. So I don't really know, I don't exactly know where to go with that, but I feel like living in a contradiction isn't helping me at all.
Sure.
How would you describe that something?
I guess I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
How would you describe that something?
Infinite blackness. The thing that I met was infinite blackness. And inside of it was anything and everything that ever was, is currently, and all of the possibilities for everything that can be, all kind of in one giant amalgamation. And the thing itself was the blackness, and it seemed kind of aware of me, like the same way you're mildly aware of, a skin cell. So it's not like it had a vested interest and, needed to be worshipped or was anthropomorphized in any kind of human way, but it was definitely a thing.
And how do you explain what the experience that you had to yourself? Like, what do you think happened?
I felt as though so for this to make any sense at all, in my dream, I was swimming through a river and came across what kind of looked like a porthole, but it moved a little bit more like a water pocket trapped underneath a rock ledge. And I put my hands on it and kind of fell into it. And then there was nothing. And not just nothing around me, but there was no me. And then all of a sudden there was recognition of oh, hey, I should be a thing. And then it felt like all of the aspects and particles that combine to make the self I am currently kind of rejouped back together. And as I started becoming aware of what was in the blackness, I felt immense love, being ultimately cared for. And I was surrounded by these 15-foot tall, faceless, grim reapers. It sounds terrifying, but it really wasn't. But it came across like a grandma coming up to you and going, "Oh, dinner's not quite ready yet. You're not supposed to be in here now. Go ahead and go back out the door." It was so.
But how do you explain? But my question is, what do you think happened? How do you explain what happened to you? Do you have any explanation? Because what you're telling us is that you had an experience, right? When we dream, we have experiences, right? But what is this dream to you? How do you explain what happened to you?
The best way I think I can explain what happened to me is I truly feel as though I felt God. I met God, or at least, that teeny little corner of it where I re-solidified in.
Have you had, you mentioned that you had other lucid, vivid dreams before, right? You have
I have lucid dreams every night since I was 5.
Okay, what did you see in those other dreams? Did you see things that are
kind of just normal it's normal, like dreaming, goofing around stuff, but with ever so slightly more control on it because I know I'm in my dream. This is the first time I've ever met.
Have you seen anything in your dreams? Have you seen anything in your dreams that don't match things that we see in day-to-day life or seem unreal before that you seen God?
Yeah. My dreams definitely play with physics like it's, cinematic or a video game. But I've never met anything like this before, and I've never met anything like it since, but that portal thing, the porthole bubble thing,
but
it has showed up in my dreams since, and I distinctly get the feeling like it's watching me. But not in a bad way, but like, like grandma looking out the kitchen window to see if you're still playing in the yard.
Is it possible that your dream was a very, strong experience that your brain had, and it's not reflective of any God that is out there? Is that possible? That you just had like a very strong emotional dream and you felt something, and it was...
That is possible, but I've never really been of the belief that there is any, distinct, concrete, quote, God out there. I've kind of always believed that gods exist. Our interpretation and our connection to them really exists solely within us.
Right. But so the question is that... So there's two options that we're considering here, right? You had a dream, you had a very strong emotional reaction to this dream, you felt something very deeply, and either this dream is a representation of an actual God that is out there, or that is something that is just within your mind. It's one of these two, I think, unless you could come up with a third option. It's one of these two, right?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It's one of the two. I guess my base question is, does that make me a theist in some way, or am I actually an atheist?
No, because when we say theist, we usually are talking about people who believe in this entity that is outside of your mind and controls the world. I mean, other people redefine the word God to mean other things. Some people refer to nature as God. Some people refer to math as God. Some people refer to love as God. Some people refer to their own mind as gods. And, these are just playing with words. And if by God they mean those things, well, those things do exist. It's ridiculous to call those things gods because they already have words for them. But when we are talking about theists, we're not talking about people who refer to those things. We're talking about people who believe in this entity that is self-aware, that has a personality, that gets angry, and that is the creator of the world, is usually triomni. That's what people mean by theist, people who believe in that, right? So for you to be a theist, you actually have to believe that this dream that you had represents that God, not something that is just within your mind. If you think that this is all just a very strong experience that you had within your mind, well, you did, technically you did, but if you call it God, you don't become a theist. So which one do you think is more likely? Do you think that the dream, that the strong experience that you had was just chemicals in your brain, that you just had a strong experience while you were dreaming? Or do you think that there's a entity that is a self-aware entity out there that is the creator of the universe, and you just had a connection with it? Which one do you think is more likely?
I mean, the first is more likely, but I still feel a little bit of that second one in there. But the big difference is self-aware. The thing that I met didn't seem self-aware. It seemed like a collection of the awareness of everything else that exists.
It still ultimately kind of comes down to that question of meet, right? Like when you say you met this figure, the question that I think Armin is trying to like really force everything into a bottleneck with is, did you actually meet any outside force, whether it's God, whether it's just some magical imp who likes to play with dreams? Was it some sort of leprechaun or pixie? Or it doesn't really matter what this thing is and whether or not it was God. Did you actually meet it? Or was this an experience that you had inside of your own mind, just like every other sort of weird dream or phantom pain or whatever else one might experience inside of consciousness?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one that I don't think we're actually capable of completely answering with any kind of definitiveness.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I could tell you that I had a dream where I had a conversation with God last night, and you wouldn't be able to prove me wrong. And I get that there's also a falsifiability issue with your experience here, and that can make it really complicated. It's uncomfortable to question your own mind. It's uncomfortable to believe or to come to the realization that not everything you think is true. But I think that that's the question that you might have for yourself, because if I did tell you that I had a conversation with God in my dreams last night, I think that your experiences of the world, your understanding of the world at large, would probably lead you to believe that my dream wasn't valid. And I'm not telling you how to interpret your dream or your experience, but I'd like you to be asking some of those questions.
That's very well put. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I think based on this, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add something. You said you felt it though. I think you could allow yourself to feel things. There's nothing wrong with feeling things that are not real. In fact, it makes life fun. When you say, well, I felt something like that, like a god or like whatever you mentioned that you described. So I'm asking you, was this real? Was that a reflection of something real that is out there? And you said, well, it felt like it. And these don't contradict each other. When we are, as atheists, we don't have to stop ourselves from feeling things that, that are not real. In fact, that's the whole joy of reading stories and, having fun with fantasy. Right. I sometimes dream. I sometimes have dreams, and I sometimes have dreams where I feel like I'm flying. So the feeling of flying, even though I wasn't flying, the feeling of that flying was real. So your feeling, if you're asking, was my feeling real? If you're asking for us to validate your feeling, yeah, your feeling is completely valid. You don't have to feel like, am I an atheist because I had that feeling? You could have the feeling of meeting God as an atheist all the time. So
I work with psychedelic therapies, and people have that experience frequently and still walk out of it with the rational thought that, yeah, there is no God.
Yeah, and you could play with it as well.
Yeah,
it might be
really
fun.
The basis of my question, because I don't think that, personally, I think that what I met kind of exists as an amalgamation of the thoughts and shit that's there, but it doesn't have any control or bearing on the world around us. And because of the nature of our thoughts and the fact that our perceived universe exists to us and us alone, no, I don't think that actually exists outside of my head. But I guess in a way it's somewhat reassuring to not have to think of myself as a theist, because I don't know why that was weirding me out, but it was.
Yeah, it doesn't make you any less of an atheist to feel that you met God. In fact, you might as well play with that as much as, we don't have strict rules for atheism, okay? If you could play with that and enjoy that as much as you want, as long as you understand that these are feelings, you could enjoy those feelings as well. That's allowed. And you're still an atheist.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for a wonderful conversation, and you have a wonderful evening.
Well, thank you for calling.
Appreciate the call.
Well, yeah, you too. Thank you. All right, that was fun.
Right.
Okay, so wait, should I? Yeah, I should be doing something else right now. Wait, do you want to do the voicemail now, or should I go to the next call?
I was wanting to hold it for a little while later, but it's pretty fiery. If you want to jump in, I won't fight you on it.
Okay, let me do one theist caller, because I don't want to miss our theist caller. After our theist callers, then we will do the voicemail. So because when we have theist callers, I want to make sure that we take them. So we have John from Canada. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you for calling us.
Yeah, so I just want to say that women are God's gift to men.
Okay, I think women are people, and I want to know what you mean by the word gift. Well, I usually think of gifts as being objects.
They're not objects, they're people. But God gave them to us to take care of, to protect, and they give us babies.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like you're describing the actions of a person with autonomy and the ability to make choices. It feels very transactional the way that you describe it. Armin, which direction would you like to take this?
I don't know. I was wondering if it works the other way around. Are men God's gift to women?
well, we belong with each other, but they're more.
Oh, wow.
They're more our gift they're our gift to us.
So it kind of sounds like you're trying to say, yeah.
I gave him a softball to try to make him sound like not a misogynist, but he resisted the other accepting that.
It was right there, well. Yeah, right there for the taking, and you passed it up.
Yeah, he passed it up. Go on, Christy.
Well, John, yeah, it just very much sounds like you're presenting that men and women are equal, except for the fact that women are less than. Like, it's sort of this like A and B or 1 and 2, but with an asterisk. Like, it just doesn't come across, I think, maybe the way that you intend for it to. And I think that that's something that is really easy to lose in our culture. Frankly, particularly the aspects of our culture that are deeply wrapped up in Christianity, because there is so much misogyny, there is so much problematic language in the Bible that discusses women as being gifts, as being objects. And I really want to challenge you on, first of all, the notion that there is a God, that there is a God who gives gifts, and that women are anything other than equal people, full stop. I mean, can you rectify with some of those ideas?
Well, the women are to take care of, because to take care of. Men need women, women need men. I don't know why you're disputing that.
Because I don't need a woman. I'm a fully functional human person. I do have emotional needs. I have a desire for intimacy, for sexual expression, and for all of these kinds of things. And so, to kind of not get too long-winded,
make no mistake, gentlemen. Every man needs a woman. Without a woman, a man is nothing. A woman needs a man to hold his hand, tell him what to do, make him feel important. This idea that men and women don't need each other is ridiculous and it's destroying society.
I'm very sorry that you feel that way, but there are plenty of people who are living happily ever after with same-sex partners, with no partners, with multiple partners, and there's no evidence to suggest any reason in the world why those people need to change or why their happiness isn't real. We're getting into some kind of ridiculous territory. You're not only outside of the mainstream, but pretty far out of reason here.
I'm not out of reason. There's a reason why the divorce rate is super high there, and families are falling apart, because we bought into this idea that the family should be single parents or same sex, and it doesn't work that way.
Nobody's saying they should be. Relationships should be only what the people who want the relationship to look like. Yeah, there's no notion that people ought to be single parents unless they want to be, or unless that's the situation that is working best for them, or if that's just the inevitability of their circumstances. You're coming in with all of these prescriptions about how the world ought to work. And not only do I not really like the model of the planet that you're trying to suggest and like foist onto us, but I don't see any reason for it. I don't see any good books. I don't see any scholarly studies. I don't see any data, any evidence, any real reason to take seriously the notion that people should be obligated to be in these heterosexual pairings. So rather than just keep going with more and more and more of this like 1950s style idea of what a family should be, can you give me any rationale, any reasoning? Don't just loosely cite the notion of divorce statistics as if that somehow proves that the family is falling apart, whatever that means. We could tear that apart, that idea apart all afternoon. Tell me some reason why you think that we should go back to this way of thinking, even though that way of thinking has never been universal and is certainly not proven to be superior.
When a baby is born, he needs two forms of energy. He needs energy from his mother and his father to be balanced. A man needs to have energy from his father.
This is another claim, John, so I'm cutting you off. Can you show me any evidence of the fact that a baby needs, quote unquote, a divine masculine energy and a divine feminine energy, or whatever the hell? Like, is there any reason to believe? Is there any statistic that you can find for me? Is there any data that suggests that young boys who are born into two male households, or young boys who are born into households with two women, or a household with like 2 women and 3 men. Is there any reason to believe why those are not sufficient or even perhaps superior to the model that you're suggesting? Any form of evidence?
Yes, myself. I was raised by a mother and father, and look how I turned out. I'm great. I don't break any laws. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a nice guy.
I'm going to let people pull that sound clip out themselves and do what they want with it, but I'm not going to take that as data. I'm glad that you are proud of the life that you're leading, and I'm glad that you seem to have come from a wonderful home. None of that is going to move the needle for myself or for our audience. Do you have anything with you today, since you called us prepared to bring your A game and to have this conversation? Do you have anything that any of the thousands of people who will watch this clip might listen to and change their minds because of?
Why do you think there are so many? Why do you think there are so many school shootings and police shootings and so many people in jail? Because there are no families, gentlemen, and there are no fathers. I guarantee, if there were more fathers in the house, there'd be less problem in the world. And there'll be
okay. So
crime.
Guarantee, I'm calling you out on it. Can you show me statistics from maybe countries where they have fewer gun shootings and where they have less of that type of violence that indicate that there are more fathers in those homes? There are lots of countries on this planet. Many of them, most of them, have a lot less gun violence than the United States. What is the statistics around their acceptance of same-sex couples, for instance? Does that equate to what you're talking about? Or are we, as a shining beacon on a hill, as this Christian nation, doing better than everybody else when it comes to our gender politics, but not our gun violence? Like, again, you're not giving me any reason to believe what you're claiming.
If you go back to the 1950s, you'll see that there was a lot less violence and there were more families back then. Tons more.
I don't think that you will see that. I do not believe that crime statistics bear that out. Not when you really open them up and offer any sort of truly investigative lens. I'm not letting that fly, John. I'm sorry.
Society is not getting better. It's getting worse because of the destruction of family. I'm telling you that.
I don't believe that society's getting worse. Full stop.
It is getting worse.
How? Where? Show me evidence, please.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll give the evidence. There are more people in jail than ever happened before.
Yes.
There's more violence. We're teaching children
There's not more violence. There's demonstrably less violence.
There is more violence. You see it every day. In New York, people are writing all the
Okay,
time.
well, John sees it every day, and he's a happy person because he grew up in a healthy household. If anybody listening is convinced by that, then turn from your sinful ways and praise the Lord. John, is there anything else that you want to say that might convince somebody else who's listening? Because I don't know that I'm ready to be convinced.
I have a few
Armin,
questions.
maybe you have something. Yeah.
John, do you...
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's the thing, John. You, I think you keep giving us. There's two problems with the way you try to do reasoning. One, you give us anecdotes as evidence. So I just want you to understand there's a difference between when we ask for evidence, we're not asking for anecdotes. So you giving us examples. If you think examples prove anything, we have examples for almost everything. So every example that you give us as a way to prove your point, we could give you a counter example that, based on your standards, would contradict your point, right? So when we're asking for evidence, we need, data, and again, not any data that has been scientifically collected and also scientifically analyzed, and also that will still not be enough, because that data might show correlation, and correlation is not always causation. Do you understand when I tell you correlation is not causation? Do you understand what that means, or do you want me to explain it to you?
I'll explain it.
Okay, so just because two things go up at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean one is causing the other one. And just because two things are going down at the same time, that doesn't mean that one is also causing the other one, right? So for example, during when the weather gets hot, people consume more ice cream, and they also swim more, and they drown more often. But if you look at the data, you can see there's a correlation between ice cream consumption and people drowning. That doesn't necessarily mean that ice cream consumption is causing people to drown. So there is a correlation. Both of them are going up at the same time, but one is not causing the other one. So when you're saying like, oh, I saw this go up and I also saw this go up, so one is causing the other one, you haven't shown us that one is causing the other one just because they are both moving in the same direction. There needs to be analysis. That this is why studying these things are complicated and difficult. This is why researchers try to isolate all these other factors to be able to find the causation, not just a correlation. Do you understand that point?
Yes.
Okay, great. So when you were giving us examples of telling us like, how do you explain this? This went up and this went up at the same time. Well, that doesn't show us that one is causing the other one. That's why your reasoning doesn't show us what you think it does. Do you understand that?
Well, 30% increase in U.S. murder rate between 2019 and 2020. That's a fact right there. You want to say?
Okay, let's say that's a fact. Let's assume that crime rates have gone up, right? And what's the other fact?
It's because there are less families in the house. There are less families in the U.S.
Well, okay. So what do you mean by less families? People who are, because if you're talking about single parent families, that's actually might be an issue. I will ask Christy about that because he has access to this data right now. But let's say comparing a family that has a father and a mother with a family that has two fathers, right? Do you think two fathers like in a house with the kids, is that as good as a father and a mother?
No, you need a father and a mother.
Okay, how do you know that? What's the data that? What's the data that would?
That's because it's been done for. That's the way. Ask any
sorry.
psychologist, and they'll tell you that. Ask any psychologist, and they'll tell you.
No. Sorry to interrupt, but no, that's just not true. There is no reason to believe that male-female pairings have been parents exclusively, or that this notion of the nuclear household is the fundamental building block of family and community within the human species. That's just not the way it's always been. It's really not the way it's been until fairly recently in our evolutionary history. It's certainly not the way that it is across the world. It's not the way that it is in every household. And there's just no reason to believe that it's somehow superior.
So I want to ask Christy something. I might be wrong about this, but I think there is evidence, maybe I'm wrong, if you've seen this, that having two parents is better, much better than having one parent for a child. Like
it is,
maybe
broadly speaking, when we start to break it down.
I'm glad we agree. We agree then.
Yes.
Well, Armin was asking a question, and I'm trying to answer that question, whether or not it's accurate. From what I understand, when we do a complex factorial analysis and we start taking out things like household income and all of these other factors, we do still continue to see marginal benefits in a two-person household, which only makes sense. Kids need energy. Right. They need your time. They need your focus. They need your attention. And if you have two people to do that, that's a good thing. I am not opposed to the notion of two-parent households, but I'm also not opposed to the notion of a five-parent household, which we haven't really wrestled with.
Exactly, John. I think I have this belief. I might be wrong, Christy, correct me. If two is better than one, then three is better than two. And maybe four is better than three. So because if you have a family, when the kids have three parents, maybe like three dads, that would be even superior than two parents, like a mom and a dad. Is that true? Could that be true, Christy? Like having maybe three is better than two for the kids?
I mean, the mortgage is definitely easier to pay. I'll say that.
I mean, yeah. So I agree with you, John, that two-parent families are better for the children than one. So single parenthood seems to be really bad for the children based on the data I've seen. But when I say two, I'm also saying two dads and two mothers, or a dad and a mother. That's where we disagree.
No.
But if you have data,
mother and father.
Well,
yeah,
I might even
have
jump
any
in. Yeah, I might just clarify one quick point, which is that we can say perhaps in aggregate that having two parents is generally a valuable factor, or might be in some small way correlated with different outcomes of well-being. But that's not to suggest that you could look at any individual family and be like, that couple has to stay together because kids need two parents. Over and over and over again, we can demonstrate that if a relationship is headed towards divorce, I'm not here to say that they should get divorced, but not getting divorced can be incredibly difficult and painful and harming to that child. So these statistical considerations that we're looking at and the benefits of possibly having a two-person household are small, and they're very, very, very individualized. So one particular family might be better served for the parents to go get some counseling to figure their shit out and to make it work. But that is not going to be everybody's situation. And for all of the ridiculousness that you're kind of spewing, John, I don't want anybody listening to this call to walk away from it thinking that they have to stay with their partner forever because it's good for the kids. That is not universally true.
So if I understand what Christy is saying, I just want to make sure that everyone got it. On average, it might be true that two parents are better than one parent, but two toxic parents that are fighting with each other is not as good as one parent. So maybe many times one parent is better than two parents that are fighting with each other and don't have a good relationship. That's more harmful for the kids. So just because something on average is better, that doesn't mean that's the best thing for you. Sometimes divorce is the best thing you could do for the children. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yeah.
No question. I mean, the statistics bear that out very, very thoroughly.
Right. So, John, we need data. You're coming here with claims, but we need. Actually, we don't need data. We need research, because sometimes people don't understand that they're not good at interpreting data. They go look at raw data and they just connect things with each other. This is why it's better to look at the conclusions at peer-reviewed academic research rather than trying to analyze the data yourself. And it's actually now easier than ever before. You could just, if you don't understand peer-reviewed academic research, you could copy and paste it in ChatGPT and it will explain it to you. Just write down, explain this to me like I'm 5. That's I've been doing that, and I've been going through a lot more research than I used to. So try that, John. Look at peer-reviewed academic research and go to the conclusion part and copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask it to explain it to you. That's the best way to come up. Right now, I think that's one of the best ways.
No, that's actually a powerful tool.
Yeah. Okay. All right, John. We're gonna move on. Thank you for calling us. I have another theist caller, so I'm not going to do the voicemail yet.
Cool.
Because I don't want to. Yeah. Okay.
We'll just keep teasing it because I'm excited for it.
Oh, wait. We have super chats. We have a super chat from. Can you read that name?
Miranda Rensberger.
Thank you so much. I suck at reading names. So, if you think everyone in the world needs to be exactly like you, you did not turn out fine.
Fair
point. I didn't want to say something like that. I felt like that was kind of mean. Yeah. But again, that wasn't me.
Yeah. Gayest Husky also said, funny how God and sin and souls are not demonstrable, but the cash that anti-LGBT preachers want is demonstrable. That's a fair point.
All right. Let me take the next atheist caller. So this one is Jared from Kentucky. Hi.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Hello. Hi. What do you have for us? Hi, John. I said, does agnosticism entail a contradiction? Okay, that's your question. Explain.
Yeah, so specifically in regards to agnosticism towards the triune Christian God, the claim of agnosticism would entail a contradiction to agnosticism in and of itself.
Wait, there's no claim in. Am I misunderstanding this? There's no claim in agnosticism. The whole point is not claiming things. The whole point of agnosticism is not to claim something. Am I? What claim are you talking about? What is the claim that we're discussing here?
Okay, well, to be clear, you might be a little bit lost. Do you agree that being agnostic in and of itself is a belief?
No.
Okay, agnosticism isn't a belief. So is agnosticism an expression of one's mental states?
Yeah, okay. Let's play around with that idea. See where it takes us.
Great.
I mean, technically, everything that comes out of your mouth is.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, so that was a concession. So yeah, we can move forward. So yeah, so that in and of itself would be a belief. Now, that belief is going to be propositional. Do you agree?
So long as it's reflective.
What is the
If
belief?
the proposition is that I don't have a belief, then sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a belief
Okay.
about
So
yourself.
it's a proposition of belief. Now, in the triune Christian God, at least as it's defined, it's going to be the necessary referencing point for intelligibility. Now, if you have intelligibility without referencing God as a necessary point, now I'm not adding any credence to that argument right now, but it would entail a contradiction. So if you're saying that, let's just say, for example, I know a chair is in front of me right now. Now, if that's not in reference to that which is universally ultimate and instantiates and secures the truth value of propositions, then that's going to be negating the proposition that it's necessary for its intelligibility, and that in and of itself, as justification would take as a proposition would take justification.
I don't know what this guy just said. Do you understand what he just said?
I mean, I believe I'm following
Yeah.
it. The notion here is that when we're talking
Right now.
specifically about Christianity and this notion of the Holy Spirit being able to like speak to your heart or be intelligible, that to suggest that you don't believe, or you're not sure, rather, that not that you don't believe, but if you're just not sure if there's a God, but the God that we're talking about ought to be or necessarily is intelligible, then those are somehow contradicting. That's a very narrow case, if I have it at all correct. Am I in any way misinterpreting you, Jared, or can you walk me through it a little better?
You
Yeah,
need to
so I'm
do a
not
better
sure.
job at explaining things as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard when you guys are kind of lost right now. I'm not sure which part you're lost on, so I'll restate it. So the proposition, I can just spell out the contradiction for you. So the proposition is going to be the proposition and its negation in conjunction. The proposition and affirmative would be that the triune Christian God is the necessary reference point as the universal ultimate instantiates and secures the truth of propositions. The negation of the proposition.
Stop there. Go back to that phrase. Talk about the triune Christian God, because you're rushing through these concepts, and I'm not really sure
Jared, you suck at explaining things. You really do.
You sound like you're
You
more
need to-
reading than explaining, just to throw that out there.
It also might just be the case that you kind of suck at tracking. So usually when people move to meta like that, they're going to be good at it. I don't know why you moved to meta. I just want to talk about the substance right now. So back to the substance. So the proposition in the affirmative would be...
Are you bored?
Bye-bye.
I'm getting bored, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
These people think they're so intelligent because they just put like big words next to each other and they try to speed run through it and it try to confuse everybody, and they think they're winning when people are confused. That's usually when I think
it really,
strategy
for me,
here
comes down to like, how do we define winning? You know, I don't necessarily show up to win, but I do hope to walk away from these conversations with the thought that more people in the audience will begin to see and understand the world similarly to the way that I understand it. And if Jared thought that what he was doing was going to cause anybody watching this show to see and understand the world that he does, then he needs to read a little slower.
Yeah. So guys, make sure they don't do this to you. Okay. So you have a very obvious, easy take. You don't see evidence for God, and there is no evidence for God. So you lack a belief in God. And given that they fail at providing evidence for a God, what they try to do is go and look into philosophical language and find the biggest, most complicated words out there and create a sentence that they repeat really fast to you, and you will feel like maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I am dumb. Maybe these people understand philosophy much more than me, and there's something to what they're saying, and I'm not going to engage in an argument with them because I'm going to look stupid. And if I come and say, I don't understand what you're saying, they're like, okay, then you have a problem. You're not smart enough to understand why my argument for the existence of God is valid. But if you actually have a good argument for the existence of God, you should be able to communicate it in a way that is understandable. If you don't understand it, it's not your fault. They are doing it often on purpose to make you feel stupid. Don't feel stupid. It's on them.
Fair to say. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. I think we have another super chat. I hope I didn't miss the other one. Yeah. Okay. So we have a super chat from Liz saying, studies show two-parent lesbian homes win. Well, I haven't seen that study, but that's amazing if that's true. I should be doing some announcements, right? I've been missing all the announcements.
Sure.
I'm gonna, yeah, okay. So let me go to. Oh yes, support the ACA. This is my favorite announcement because because we need your support to keep the show going. If you like what we do and would like to support us, here are some of the ways to support the Atheist Experience and the ACA. We have been running. Oh, this one, yes, this is fun. We have been running our brick fundraiser for a while, and we will be completing phase 1 at the end of January. So I think there should be some graphics showing up on the screen right now. There we go. Our featured brick this week comes from Tim in Texas, who engraved "What Does God Need with a Book?" Thank you so much for your purchase, Tim. Okay, that's great, guys. This is a very creative way for people to support the show. I like it a lot. Whoever came up with it, good job. Okay, here's another way that you can support the show. Become a channel member for as little as 99 cents a month. Click the join button below the video. This will give you access to special chat emojis. Guys, people who are already members, please use the chat emojis right now so the ones who don't have it get jealous and end up buying some membership. And then the final way that you can support the show, I don't know if this is the only way, but here, available on atheist-community.org are printable call-in flyers. So this is a really good way to promote the show, but make sure, guys, do it in a way that is responsible. Don't use these in places where they're not welcome. So post these with permission to community bulletin boards so people know they should call our show and defend their faith. This is another very creative way to do that. Oh, by the way, it's not on the list, but I have another way for you to support the show, which is completely free and so easy to do, which is like the stream, guys. Your likes and your comments significantly makes the YouTube algorithm show the show. It does really matter. It does make a difference. So go ahead. If you haven't already, first of all, why haven't you already? Shame on you. But also, here's your opportunity to spend 1 second to like the stream. All right. Let's go to, again, I have another theist caller. I know we have a very exciting voicemails, guys. Stick in for the voicemail. I want to play that at some point, but I don't want to miss our theist callers. So I'm going to take another call. I don't know. Oh, here's how you pronounce this name. Erasmus from California, saying God communicates with people through dreams and visions. Hello, Erasmus.
Hello. How's it going?
Hi. Good. Tell us what you got.
Okay. So earlier in the show, I do remember how one individual was speaking about dreams and a dream that they had, or dreams and visions. Now, when it comes down to God, God has stated that, well, God, there are, I'd say, dreams or dreams with God and other, entities, whatnot. And so while a person might try to take a naturalist view on dreams, saying that the dreams are necessarily a byproduct of one's mind, chemicals and, electrical signals creating said phenomena in like dreams, it is very possible that dreams can also be from, God and other entities and whatnot.
Yeah, that's theoretically possible. What reason do you have for believing that it is true or even probable?
Yes.
I would say the reason I'd say it's possible or probable is because many times some dreams are very much what we like playbacks of events that have happened that we've seen and saw and whatnot. At the same time, many individuals, for instance, in Muslim nations, have reported seeing, visions of Jesus, which causes them to, convert. And so, mean, if it were simply one person, we could chalk it up to, for instance, a hallucination, or potentially,
I mean, they mostly dream of Muslims. If they have religious dreams, the vast majority of it is of their own imams, or Prophet Muhammad, or Imam Mehdi, or Imam Ali, or like Angel Gabriel, which is Gabriel in English. It's very rare for them to have dreams of Jesus, but also understand that Jesus is a prophet in Islam as well. And often when Muslims have dreams of Jesus is after exposure to Christians and when they are being invited to Christianity. But most of the time they have Islam-related dreams. And Hindu people with the Hindu background usually have, most of the time, if they have religious dreams, they have Hindu-related dreams. And so with every other religion.
Certainly. And
I mean, I was a Muslim once. I had dreams of Shia imams. I remember specifically having dreams of Shia imams as a Muslim. I didn't have dreams of Jesus.
Well, certainly. At the same time, when a person has a dream of Jesus, some of these times, those dreams, those dreams don't comport to their own religion. Say, for instance, Islam. In Islam, Jesus, well, they have another Jesus, if you will. They have Isa, who is a prophet who,
So here's the thing. Let's move on to your claim. We have a claim here. We have a claim that you have dreams. Sometimes these dreams are Jesus, sometimes it's of Allah, sometimes it's Muhammad. Your claim is that these dreams are connections with real entities, with gods and prophets. How do you know that it's not just in your mind? You said that it could be a communication with God. Yeah, but it could also be not. It could, if you want to just come up with guesses, what about the guess that, oh no, none of these religions are real, we are just reincarnation is a thing, and these are our dreams are of our past life. So if you want to just throw claims around, there's infinite number of claims that I could just make without any evidence or without any proof of what dreams could be, right? So how are we going to decide what metric and what methodology are going to use to figure out which one of these claims is more justifiable for us to believe in than the other ones? What is your methodology, if you want to evaluate them?
My methodology, I say my methodology is that many times most dreams are incomprehensible, are basically very much, I don't know what the word is for.
Not real?
Well, no, that's not the word. Many of the dreams that people have are very much, how do I say it? They are, in essence, very jumbled. They're not very clear.
Very clear. Okay. So not the lack of clarity of your dreams is evidence for it to be representing a communication with God?
No, I'm saying that would most likely correlate with dreams that are from your mind, from yourself. However, when it comes to religious dreams,
I had very, very, very clear dreams talking to Mehdi, Imam Mehdi. Very clear dreams. How do you explain that?
Okay, so I would say that you were speaking to, and if it was clear, then you were speaking to an entity or a person.
Why would the clarity of the dream mean that I was talking to an actual entity? Where are you getting this from? Why do you think that if a dream is clear, it must mean that I am talking to an actual entity outside of my mind in my dream?
Because most people's dreams are very much jumbled and make no sense. They are nonsensical.
So you're saying we have dreams that are nonsensical, and then we have dreams that makes more sense, that are clear. You're saying the fact that most of our dreams are unclear means that the clear ones are communications with real entities?
Well, if an entity such as God wanted to speak to an individual, he would most likely have.
We're not talking about things that are possible. We're talking about things that are. You have to demonstrate that this is reality. You can't just say, well, this is how I imagine it would happen. Well, that doesn't make it more real. Why is it not possible that we just have dreams that reflect things that are in our mind, and some of them are clear and some of them are just not clear? Why is that not? Why do you think it's not possible for that just to be a product of our mind? Why is that not an option for you? Is that an option for you? Is it possible for our dreams to just be both the clear ones and the non-clear ones, to just be product of our minds while we're sleeping? Is that possible?
I would argue no.
Why not? Well, you didn't argue, you made a claim. An argument, when you say I would argue that no, well, that's the claim part of your argument. Now we need the actual argument.
Because if it's simply a product of your brain, of your mind, of chemicals and, synapses firing while you're dozing off in the night, there should be really no purpose for why any of the dreams are clear. They should all be basically rubbish. They should also
That's a repetition of the claim. That's the repetition of the claim. You said that if the dream is clear, it cannot just be our synapses firing. Okay, so I heard your claim. Now you're repeating the claim. You have to now explain to me, how do you know that? Why do you make you think? What does make you think that? Where's your evidence or argument for why, if a dream is clear, it has to be something more than a product of our mind?
Because the mind would, in essence, simply repeat what it saw or what the person did during the day. It wouldn't have any, clear. It wouldn't have any clear.
Yeah, I might suggest to you that that's not really the way it's understood by serious scientists. Now, if you could study a little bit of neuroscience, maybe develop a more sophisticated understanding of dreams. I mean, hell, if you even want to bring like Jung and Freud into all of this, you're still not going to see a lot of God there. Your notion about how dreams should be this or they should be that is fine based on your own experience, but it's not a particularly sophisticated, or I'm going to say accurate, understanding of what dreams actually are and how they work. Now, what is a dream? That's a complex question. You could spend a lifetime trying to understand what a dream actually is, because I think we can get a little bit beyond this notion that it's just chemicals and synapses firing. I mean, if it was just chemicals and synapses firing, that's what's happening right now. I'm having a conversation with you, and the only way that I know that you are talking to me and the only way that I can see this screen in front of me and participate in all of this is because of the chemicals in my brain and the synapses firing. So we need to get to a more sophisticated understanding of neuroscience to really talk about what dreams actually are. And this distinction that you're making between intelligible dreams and unintelligible dreams really doesn't seem very clear. And it doesn't seem to be particularly well versed in the science that we're trying to discuss here. So, I'm not saying that I can prove that God doesn't speak to people in dreams, but I have no reason to believe it. And after 10 minutes of this conversation, I'm no closer to it. Can you help me get there?
So I want to clarify something. When I say synapses and chemicals, I'm not trying to be, as specific as I can be defining, the neuroscience between dreams. I'm simply trying to explain, like how I'm trying to basically say, how, like the mind, like I'm trying to generalize how the mind would probably work. Like I'm not trying to be very.
But no, and I get all that, but I'm suggesting that you're coming to this from a place of ignorance, and that's okay. I'm not a brilliant neuroscientist myself. I have some understanding of dreams and some understanding of the human brain and some of these different things, but I can't just define or explain dreams to you in the course of this phone call. But here you are making a really important claim about the existence of God, and you're basing it on a level of neuroscience understanding that I think could really use some boning up. So I guess what I'm just trying to suggest to you is that this claim that you've presented to Armin that he's asked you to defend feels really half-baked. And I think if you understood what dreams actually were and what our scientific understanding of them is, it might really help to dispel some of these theories that you've come to.
And also, have you talked to or studied the neuroscience at all? Because it seemed like you have some level of confidence about what the clarity of dreams mean in a way that I think like many people who study the human brain would not be this confident talking about. I mean, if you actually go to talk to people who study the human brain, they wouldn't tell you that the mind cannot produce such vivid and clear dreams. They would tell you, yeah, it completely can. So I don't know where you're getting this from. Have you studied the science of dreams and the neuroscience that goes behind it?
I have not.
I would suggest that as valuable as that is, you can disprove some of this by using your own self as a guinea pig. I mean, obviously we have to be careful with that kind of data, but if you've ever had a dream that felt very vivid, but does not seem to be in line with the messages that God might be trying to send to you. I mean, I had a dream about having a threesome with two Avengers, and I don't really know what God was trying to tell me there. And I wonder if you haven't had similar experiences.
I had some really 18 plus dreams that
that did not come from Allah.
So when it comes to dreams from the standpoint of theism, or Christianity in this sense, dreams can come from your own self, like you playing back your own like, what you've consumed or what you've seen, heard, done, etc. So that would fall under, like your brain basically replaying what you did or what you saw in your dreams, maybe your imagination. There's God, and then there's the devil. There's like three categories when it comes down to dreams. The two that would be most clear would be God and the devil, I'd say.
I might suggest to you that this notion that all dreams are either weird thought noise or God or the devil has two unnecessary ingredients, and that dreams might just be weird thought noise, and that you're going to find that backed up by basically every scientific understanding of this issue. Prove to me that there is a God, and maybe we can have a different conversation, or come to me with a little bit more sophisticated understanding of how dreams operate, and we can continue this conversation. But I don't know that we're going to get much further now, unless there's something more you want to jump in with, Armin.
No, I think I want to move on. Is it okay if I ask you which Avengers? Don't answer.
The whole chat was asking. I said that because I didn't want to like overly sexualize some poor actor or actress out there in Hollywood. So I'm just going to let the audience have their own dreams tonight and pick your two favorites.
Now we're all curious. You can't do this to us,
right?
Yeah. No, I was thinking when you said that, because I had some really 18 plus dreams, and I was like, okay, if the fact that they were clear means that they were real people or real entities, I'm like, oh my God. Well, I have some apologies to make. Yeah. I don't know what entity. Okay.
I love Christian apologetics sometimes, because anytime we don't understand something, it's God. But then it's like, oh, well, that thing that we don't understand is also bad. Then it must be the devil. And anything can be explained through those two get out of jail free cards.
Right. Okay. Well, okay, let's get to the voicemail because we keep teasing people with this voicemail and we don't play it. So I don't know what I'm supposed to. I think I'm just supposed to tell the team that to bring it up, right? Because
I was just wondering, instead of asking man questions, all you have to do is say, Most High God, if you can hear me, please show me that you can hear me, and show me that you sent your son, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, to die on the cross for my sin. I want to see it. That's all you have to say. You don't have to waste time asking man for answers when you can ask the Creator himself. He's waiting for you to ask. What a waste of time you guys are doing. You guys, I feel sorry for you, because hell on earth is ready to come. And once all the robots come and take everybody's jobs and they say, oh, you got to change yourself into a robot, people are going to do it. And once they do that, they have to take the mark of the beast so that they can live. And I ain't taking the mark of the beast. They can cut my head off. I don't care. I ain't down with that. I hope that you ask this prayer, because it's going to be very bad if you don't ask God and keep on wasting time with man, asking man questions. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and you don't have much time left, people. I beg of you, ask the question to God, the Most High God, in Jesus' name, amen. Hallelujah.
Let's do it.
Man.
Do you want to do it?
Man questions. Yeah. If you want to join me in this, we've still got more time on the show, so maybe while we're on camera, something incredible will happen here. Most High God, if you can hear me, please show me that you can hear me, and show that you sent your son, Jesus Christ, to die.
Amen. Wait, no, you have to wait. Let me actually say it as well. Most High God, you can hear me. Oh, wait. That was amazing. That was so good. I'm like, what happened?
I got some people.
Yeah, that's good. I have done this so many times, though, when I was like doubting.
Yeah.
I did this to the God of Islam. I did this to Allah, and I did this to Jesus. I don't know what these people think. Like, so many people have done that and failed. Have you done this before?
Yeah,
like,
no, I absolutely sincerely have, like, many times. And that's what really drives me crazy, is that I was never saved. I was saved incorrectly. I was praying to the wrong God. God never called me in the first place, so he wasn't hearing my prayer. I mean, I've heard every single reason in the world, but no one else can judge this but me. But I will tell you, if there was a way to be sincere and passionate and desperate for God to, like, hear me and respond to me, I was that. I did everything that I could. I said Most High God as many times as I could. And I'm still here having these conversations with you.
Right. I cried. I was in tears. I was telling God that I am the path that I am in. I'm seeing myself become an atheist. And I told God that I don't want to lose him. I told God, I prayed to God. I was crying. I was in tears. I was saying that you're everything that I have, and I don't want to lose you. Please, I don't want to be an atheist. I don't want to. I was so lonely, by the way, back then. Like, God was my kind of my only friend, and I was saying, if you're real, just do anything. Show me, help me out, because every day I'm losing you a little bit more, and eventually, if this keeps happening, I'm gonna lose you completely. So if you're out there, if you could hear me, just throw anything my way, anything. Like I'm even like remembering that I feel like tearing up a little bit, remembering those days, how desperate I was for God to show me something. So I did pray. I did cry, and nothing happened. I'm an atheist right now.
Well, and it's just such an insult to all of the people watching today who have bled, sweat, and cried over these issues and meaningfully tried to work out their salvation in all of these different ways, and just came with reason to the conclusions that we did. The way that so many people, I'll say in my own experience, so many Christians will just sort of throw it out there. Well, you didn't try, you didn't care, you're too hung up on your own pride or whatever else. is really deeply offensive. And especially as we go into the holidays, I just want to say to everybody listening, like, your feelings are valid. This is a very painful, very difficult challenge that's been thrown at us growing up. I mean, just living in a world that is so hell-bent on this magical thinking.
Right. So before we get to that voice call, I want to read some super chats because we got a lot of them. Thank you, guys. Jimmy saying, great show. I will drop links in the comments to studies of same-sex couple raising higher performing children. Oh, really? Thank you. Please do that. I want to see those. Happy, what is that?
Saturnalia.
Something with Saturnalia. Okay. One of those pagan holidays.
I believe so, yeah.
Right. So another super chat saying, I prayed to God to show me he was real. He was a no-show. Yeah, same here for me. Another super chat. Oh, wait, I should say who gave us the super chat. That was from Fate of Silver. And then another super chat from Monkey at Typewriter saying, I like the username. I'm pretty sure, what is this? Bacchus is the most high god. Do you know this god?
Bacchus, the Greek god of wine, I believe. Wine and partying, perhaps. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments. We also had one from Cubby Cactus who said the big words Christian attempt to use are just them speaking in tongues. Salty, I like that. And Jamie Gallier, who donated $5 just to us for ending that precept argument. Be nice for him to call and support his God for once.
Thank you. I did that with that seeing that super chat. All right. Oh, also let me do another announcement before we get to that call. So here, it's that time of the year again when we open the ACA merchandise vault and give you an opportunity to pick up some of the limited time items you may have missed. Right now, we are featuring the 5 most popular shirt designs from the past year. But hurry, the vault will only be open until the end of December. You can even use the discount code TheVault to get 10% off your entire purchase. So I hope it's on the screen somewhere, right? Yes, okay. And also the URL for this is tiny.cc/merch ACA. Oh, also, we want to send a big thank you out to the crew who put this show together every week. And yeah, so can we get that? There we go. Aw, that's cute. Hi, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being there. Sorry for making your job difficult, but with you being all over the place today. All right. So no, wait. Let's go to. Oh yeah, I said the voice call. No, I mean the next theist caller. Today we have so many theists. This is great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you guys for calling in. Let's go to Rick from Canada saying, "Why do atheists dodge evidence for God?"
Well, that's a big question. Sure.
That's a big question. Yeah. What evidence, though? Hey. Hi, Rick.
Hey, guys. Hey, how you doing?
Good. Tell us, what evidence are we dodging?
Yeah, so I watch you guys show a lot, right? And I mean, there's an abundance of evidence for God if you search for it, but I feel like you guys just pass the buck rather than searching for knowledge yourselves, and you claim the burden of the proof is everybody else to educate you, which I find strange because you wouldn't do that in any other aspect of your life, right? So why is it?
That's an interesting question. Let's start with. Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about that word evidence. Armin, I feel like I heard you talk about this not too long ago, the way that different people use that term evidence, and whether having a feeling in your heart actually constitutes evidence, or if there's like a certain quality. What do you mean, Rick, when you say evidence for God?
Well, evidence is the proof of the unseen, right? Like it's stated by Paul, right? Paul says it's the evidence of things unseen, but then Paul himself went on to find evidence.
He was describing faith there. He said faith is the evidence of things that are unseen.
I think we know the Bible a little bit better than you. That's the definition of faith, I think. Yeah, that's not the definition of evidence.
Faith is the evidence of things that are not seen. So what is the word evidence doing in this sentence?
So evidence, I strange.
So evidence is a noun. What does that noun mean? Can you
evidence-
please just, like a dictionary definition, what does the word evidence refer to?
So evidence is things that conclude truth, right? Things that attribute to discovering or concluding a certain topic, right? So when you're searching for evidence of God, right? What avenues of evidence have you guys exhausted? That's what what have can you tell me what
we're asking,
exhausted to prove?
we are asking you. Hey, wait! You're in the middle of answering a question. Just because you can't answer the question, that doesn't mean that you can now all of a sudden ask us a question. So that's usually a tactic people use when they realize they can't answer a question. Can you answer Christy's question first?
If you can't keep up, that's on you, man. I just answered what evidence is. It's ideas or facts or proofs that conclude a topic.
I mean, I'm
Right?
getting
So
a
you're
sentence,
making a
but it's a
conclusion.
lot of word salad. I'm not really following this notion of evidence. If we want to say that evidence is any item, any piece of information, any data point that might be extrapolated out or interpreted to mean the existence of something, then okay. But what we have to really do when we're using it in that way is look at the quality of evidence. Like if I see some little scratch marks in the mud, that might be evidence that there was some sort of beast in my backyard. But it's much more likely that those scratch marks were just made by the rake that I was using. And so are those scratches evidence that there could possibly have been some sort of creature in my yard? Well, if we found tufts of hair, if we found a giant pile of cougar shit, if there was something else to go with it and we put all of that together, we might say that there is now sufficient evidence to believe that there is a wild animal in my backyard. But if it's just scratches in the mud, I'm not going to leap towards cougar. And when somebody calls me and tells me that they had a dream that they talked to God and they want to say that that's evidence of a God in their life, I'm not going to argue that that's not evidence, but I am going to say it's insufficient evidence. So I do not dismiss or deny that there is, quote, evidence for God. For a long time, I believed that there was a God. And I believed that in large part because I had these deep emotional experiences that were very personal to me and very important to me. But now I understand that deep emotional experiences are insufficient evidence for the existence of the supernatural. Does that help clarify this claim that you're throwing at us, that we just dismiss the notion of God because we don't have any evidence, or we dodge that evidence?
I agree with you. Personal experience isn't evidence for anyone except perhaps the person experiencing it. I've never called in with personal experience. But as far as the sciences go, there's overwhelming evidence. Every single science you can interpret as what the Bible says, right?
Give us one. Give us one. Give us one.
Oh, I've given you one. Okay, can you tell me, so energy, right? Energy,
okay.
We discovered it was in the beginning. Yeah, so we discovered it's in the beginning. It created everything. It's eternal. It can't be created or destroyed. It's everywhere, in everything. It drives all life. It leaves your body when it dies. This is the biblical God.
Energy didn't.
The existence of evidence is what?
Energy didn't create everything. What do you mean by create everything? Do you mean energy brought things out of nothing to something? Are you saying everything is energy and matter? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, everything is energy and matter. Absolutely. I understand.
Okay, that's better. That's
a little
bit better. Okay, that's great. What is God? What is God?
God is an eternal being, but when you read the Bible, the description of
no, I'm not going to read the Bible. Wait a minute. What is God? What define God?
Define God. He's eternal. He's the creator of all things. In the beginning was only him.
Creator.
He can't be created or destroyed. He's the driving force of all.
What do you mean by creator? By creator, do you mean a conscious being? Is it a conscious being?
That created all things. Exactly.
Okay, so is energy a conscious thing?
I think there's sufficient evidence to support that energy is a conscious thing. Yeah. Do you have evidence?
Where's the evidence that energy? No, where's the evidence that energy is conscious?
There's a discussion right now about the brain. Is the brain our consciousness, or is the energy driving the brain the consciousness? Have you guys ever heard of the slime mold?
I'm asking you a question. Okay, so beyond the brain, the energy that is not in a form, the energy and matter that is not in the format of a brain, right? How do you know that's conscious?
Well, okay, so there's a slime mold. All it is a cell and energy. That's what's in it. There's a single cell, and it multiplies. This thing, it's been called by the head biologist a biological computer. It makes decisions, right? They don't know what this is. They have no clue.
No.
They know it's thinking.
Processing information is not the same as consciousness. Technically, everything in the universe is information, and it's being processed. That's not what we mean by consciousness.
Yes, yeah, it is. Consciousness is something that's in a being that makes decisions, right? That's aware of its surroundings. And that's what this thing is doing.
Well, that's an attribute of it.
Decisions.
Well, okay, so the way that you're describing, the way that you're redefining consciousness, basically you're saying everything is conscious. That if everything is conscious, the word conscious doesn't mean anything anymore. Because the word, if a word has utility, if it could separate, if it could turn the world into the things that are it and the things that are not it. If everything is conscious, then this word means nothing at all. If you're God, if you're defining God as everything, then the word God is meaningless, because now there's no thing that is not God, right? If you say, because, and also what's the point of calling everything God? We already have the word everything. If you're trying to say your definition of God is everything and everything exists, therefore God exists. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm a believer in your God. Everything does exist, and therefore your definition of God is pointing to something that is real. But that's just playing with words. That would be the same as me calling my cat God. I'm like, well, God exists. I'm like, well, how do you know that? Well, my cat exists, and I named it God, so God exists. Naming things that we know exist God and saying that you're a believer in God because now we know that things exist is not very meaningful. That's not what we are trying to do. This show is about is to try to understand whether or not the God that religion has been defining for ever since they came up with God, the God concept, whether that exists. If you're just redefining things that we know exist as God, and saying you believe in that, well, congratulations. Yes, your God is real. But these words are not helpful. They have no utility. You're both redefining the word God to mean everything, and also the attribute consciousness. You're also defining in a way that any processing of information becomes consciousness, which is happening everywhere in the universe, and therefore everything is conscious. Therefore, the word loses all its utility.
That's not what I said whatsoever. I believe that God is the consciousness, and through God, He gave him a piece of Himself to create.
Is there anything that is not God? Is there anything that is not God?
Nothing is God except for God. We are borrowing it, like it says the dust.
So you just said matter. You just said everything is matter and energy. Okay, and that's everything. How does that prove that there's a God?
Well, I just explained this to you, man. Do you want me to go through it again? The nature of energy.
You didn't explain a single thing. So try again.
You just can't keep up, my friend. I just explained the nature of energy. If you need to go research it,
Rick, there are a lot of people listening right now, and some of us are kind of dumb. If your job here is to try and explain something to a large audience and convince people that you're right, then you're going to need to explain it to us like we're dumb. If that is difficult for you, I'm sorry, but just calm down, slow down, talk to us like we're people, and see if you can get us to agree with your line of thinking. Otherwise, you're just being obnoxious, friend.
Try again.
In all fairness, he started the obnoxiousness right off the hibbity. But anyways, so energy, it can't be created or destroyed. It's eternal. It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's the driving force of all life. It leaves the body when it dies, right? This is the biblical description of God throughout the Bible, right?
Or will it leave the body when it dies? Like, it leaves the body in the sense that the body decomposes and it's like reconverted into other forms of energy. It's consumed by microbes and by animals and all of these things, and it just kind of continues in the food chain.
Yeah,
right, but what's the point? Your description is not a very accurate of how scientists will describe what's happening. But let's go with it. Okay, all of that. What are you gonna get from all of that?
My description is exactly right. But so the brain, you're right. Once it decomposes, energy does leave. You're absolutely correct.
What's the point? You're not making any points, Rick. You think like you're making a point, but you're not making any points.
I just did. I explained energy. So we got past.
No, you think you did.
Then you asked me if energy is conscious. I gave you the slime mold, which is just energy, and it's thinking. Go watch some talks.
Okay, Rick, you're just saying things, and it's not connecting to God being real at all. There's a claim that God is real, okay? And you're saying things about energy moving around, okay? It's not creating things, but again, your description is inaccurate, okay? Because when God creates things, it's not the way. There's two different things that we usually mean by creating. When God created the world, we're talking about things coming out of nothing. Your version of creation is basically reassembling things that already existed before. But again, I'm not going to get into the detail because you're not even making the connection. How is anything you're saying relevant to the existence of God? Are you going to say it, or are you going to just act like you made the point and just go with that?
Sure.
Because you're not making any points. You're pretending like you're making points.
Okay, here we go. So do not I fill heaven and earth, says the Lord. He gives to all things life, breath in all things. Through him, to him, and of him are all things. Father of all, who is above all, through all, in you all. The worlds were framed by the word of God, so the things which are seen were not made of things which appear. All things were made by him. Without him was not anything that was made. To dust we shall return, and your spirit shall return to God who gave it. And on and on. The Bible is full of these descriptions of energy. So can you...
This is so ridiculous. Okay. Many religions have deities that claim that they created everything. And then you put that next to the idea that matter and energy is everything. And you're like, oh, look, it matches. It doesn't, Rick. It does not. What are you talking about? What is so special about a religion that claims that our God made everything? Islam makes the same claim. Judaism makes the same claim. There are creator gods in Hinduism. What's so special about your God? Just because we have a thing that is matter and energy, and you're saying that's the entirety of the universe, which is, again, I'm not going to get into the details of how accurate that is, but these are two statements that are not like each other. But you are just trying to force it to the audience to make it seem like they are like each other. They're not. What are you talking about?
Okay, I'm going to try to explain this again for you. Okay, try to listen. So energy has a description. Whatever you want to call it, I just explained it, okay? The Bible gives the description of what we know as energy. Things like slime mold show that there is a consciousness in the energy. These are the things that connect the Bible to this. I don't care what Islam says or Hinduism.
I'm going to just let go of the whole slime mold explains or has consciousness and just let that slide. The Bible also describes like the existence of oceans, and it talks about certain animals existing. So do many other scriptures. Like you're not connecting the dots the way that Armin is asking you to. The Bible can describe energy accurately or inaccurately. What does that change? There are plenty of books that describe energy, some of them with a lot more specificity and accuracy than what you're describing.
Okay. So thousands of years ago, the Bible made these predictions about the nature of God. Thousands of later, we would discover this and call it energy. That's the point. Evolution makes a prediction, and you find a kimono dragon, and you know that's sufficient for you. You say it was a transition, right? But when the Bible makes a prediction thousands of years ago of a scientific fact, a scientific truth...
This is not a prediction, Rick. Not at all. Not even close. If it wasn't energy, the world would have been made of something. First of all, the world is not... Everything is not energy. And it's energy and matter and also some other things that I'm not going to go into the details right now. But if at the end of the day, the entirety of the universe would have been something. So whatever that thing was, it would have made it seem, based on your standard, it would have made it seem like the Bible was saying something profound. It's not. You're just acting like this is so profound that there's matching some scientific claims that we have proven. It doesn't match at all. No matter how much you try to make it seem like it, it doesn't. And even if it did, it wouldn't prove anything. I could find better things. You're doing such a horrible job. You want something in the Bible that actually matches scientific finding and it might blow people's minds? Look at the story of Noah. Here, I could make up stuff. Noah's ark is like the first primordial cells, and the DNA that was the DNA or RNA in the first primordial cells is kind of like the animals that were in that ship. And look, when were the first primordial cells formed? When the earth was filled with water. The entirety, most of the planet was covered by water. Oh, so look, you have the flood, Noah's flood. We have Noah's ark, which is like that first cell, and the animals within the ark, which is kind of like the nucleic acid within the cell. The animals, which all animals eventually came from it. God is trying to show you that that's how the first cell was formed, because that nucleic acid within the first primordial cell is where eventually all the animals or all living things come from. You want to make up made up miracles? Here, I did a better job from you. This matches scientific findings better than your made up story.
Yeah,
and I just made that up. I made that up.
This is brilliant. The Bible.
It's embarrassing. Oh my gosh, let me go.
Yeah.
Get out of here. This is
Probably
embarrassing. Fair. You guys don't have anything. You guys have nothing.
Yeah, but we're just dodging the evidence, right? Yeah.
If this is the evidence.
Well, we've got a whole stack of super chats. Let me hit some of those really quickly, and then we can maybe take that last call. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Senros offers $2. Thanks for making my days and days off fun. David Hashman says the Crew Cat member works the hardest. Happy to see Crew Cat's younger sibling step into that role. Somebody had to do it. We have, let's see, $5 from Halo Master. Why is it up to us, if God loves us and doesn't want to be separate from us, to ask for him to reveal himself? That makes very little sense. That's definitely a point that I've made on this show. I feel that pretty deeply in my bones. I'll keep going. Fern Lovebond says, The Force is an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. So the Force must be God. It's valid. And then finally, Monkey at Typewriter again says, but have you considered that maybe Jared and Rick are just smarter than all of us? Checkmate, yes. Atheists. I appreciate that. Finally, for Rick from Canada, I claim Arceus made the universe. Now what? Arceus? That's another god I'm not familiar with.
It's just so stupid. These connections they make in their mind is like, oh look, this looks like this. Like, no, it doesn't. I mean, you could do better. Even if you want to make up weird connections, like go find the conspiracy theorist people. They do a better job at making at least things look like they match each other.
Yeah, you really do get the impression that we're like the first people who have heard that speech, or maybe the first people who have listened patiently and tried to respond. I'm sure other people have probably been bored with it too.
Right. Anyways, let me get this last caller. It's just TJ from Texas saying, do you think there are people who become mad at God and then become atheists? Hi, TJ.
Armin, Christy, what's going on? You guys are awesome. First of all, by the way, Christy, the Arceus is a Pokemon.
Okay, there we go. Not so not a god, but like close enough.
Well, in the lore of Pokemon, it is a god. Well, it is.
Oh, okay.
God.
Yeah, I forgot we have the legendary god Pokemon. I dipped out after like 151, 152. Like whenever Togepi came around, I was out. But I'm showing my age, I guess. But yeah, as to your question, I'd love to hear you elaborate. But I guess I will just start by saying there are absolutely people who believe in God, become angry with him, and then become atheists. And some of those people eventually go on to host the Atheist Experience. So if you're looking for people who used to believe in God and then got angry and ended up here, yeah, I know him. He's me.
Well, actually, that's not really my question. I'm not sure why the call screener worded. Well, I guess I could kind of understand why they worded it that way, but no, I'm well aware that those people exist because I'm actually one of them. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk to y'all about. So, just to give some context. This lines up perfectly with what y'all were talking about earlier about, praying to God to give you an answer and, all that and not getting anything. So I grew up Protestant, and let's see, I grew up poor. I was physically abused by my mom, and I was bullied a lot in school. There was a lot of things going on in my life that that just was not pleasant. But I went to church sometime around when I was 13. I mean, I had gone to church before that a lot of times, but I never really took any of the religious part of it seriously. I didn't even know there were other religions at the time. And but I did believe that there was a God because, obviously everyone around me is telling me, oh, there's this God that created everything. He's so great. He's so, benevolent, whatever. And went to church around 13 years old. It was the first time that I actually listened to what the preachers and everyone else was saying. And everyone kept giving all these testimonies about hey, I prayed to God, and this thing happened to me, and it's great. My daughter healed her illness, and shit like that. So I heard that, and I was like, you know what? Let me try that shit. So I was dead serious, got on my knees, everything, and I was like, God, please, I'm begging you, just. Can you please make life not suck as badly? That's all I'm asking. I'm not even asking you to give me anything. I'm just asking you to not have or not give me so much pain to go through. All right. So please, I will do anything you want. I will be as devout to you as possible. I will go full on evangelical, creationist if you want me to. Just please. And then the next day I got beaten up at school. So that obviously didn't work. And I interpreted that as God basically just being a dick. So I was like, okay, I did this. I did this for you, and this is how you treat me. All right, well, fuck you then. I was genuinely upset.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
Until about, actually, I'm not sure how much time had passed for that, but one day, and I'm not joking, just to preface this, one day I was watching an episode of South Park. Do y'all know that show?
Familiar. Yeah. We're towards the end of the show here, so help me get to the end here.
Okay, so basically, the point of the episode was that bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people, and I saw that. And there was a scene where Kyle was like, oh, I think I know why this is happening. Oh, because there is no God. And that blew my 13-year-old mind, because at that time, the thought that God might not exist never once crossed my mind until that moment. And just like that, I was an atheist.
Well, you're smarter than me. It took me till age 18. It took me till 18 to become an atheist. So you're smarter than me.
Oh no, I was a really stupid kid back then. Because I didn't even give much thought into it. I mean, now of course I have lots of reasons to not believe in God, but that have nothing to do with emotion. But back then, I was just really upset about that. So I wanted to talk to y'all about. So you know how a lot of theists will make that straw man, oh, you atheists are just a bunch of God haters. You hate God, and that's why, yada yada yada. I want to. I logically, of course, I know how ridiculous that is, because you can't hate that which you don't believe exists. So I want to be that's stupid.
No, you can. No. You can hate. For example, you could read Harry Potter and hate, I don't know, Voldemort, for example. It's fine. You can do that. You could be I hate that character in the movie. That's completely fine.
Well, no, I mean, okay, yeah, you could do that. I meant more so hate in reality. Obviously, yeah, you can hate Voldemort, but you don't actually have strong what you say? You don't actually have strongly feel compelled to as hating Voldemort.
Emotions don't have to be rational. Take that from a therapist. Yeah. Just because you feel a feeling doesn't mean that feeling makes any sense. And if you feel some incredible anger at God, it doesn't really matter to your nervous system whether or not there is a God. I can definitely say that I have some incredible anger at God, and I lead an exercise sometimes when I work with people on religious trauma, where I will have people write a letter to God, because it can be very powerful to express those feelings as if there was a God, even though we understand that there isn't. So I'm not sure if that quite attaches to what you're trying to get at here, but I'm not sure I really understand the thesis behind your call.
Christy, would you say that it might even be healthy to express that hate? Maybe that's your body's way of healing.
No, absolutely. I mean, sometimes those emotions need to be expressed. Like, if you are spending every single day coming home from work, putting on your gloves, and then just beating the crap out of a sandbag, screaming slurs and angry words at God, then, I might encourage you to consider whether that's a healthy expression of anger. But yeah, I think there's incredible value in telling God exactly what you think of him, even if you're just talking to yourself.
Right. Okay, we need to... Yeah, go on, TJ. Yeah, TJ, we need to end the show soon. So if you have any... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I understand. Just this is the last point. Those were some really good points. I didn't actually think about that. So thank you for explaining all that.
Thank you.
My main question was really does that really give credibility to those arguments that theists make that atheists are God haters? Does that really mean anything? What do you guys think?
Who cares? Wait a second. You know what? Don't worry about them, okay? Don't worry. Don't try to define yourself and the way that you behave and the way that maybe is best for your mental health. If they could see us, they would say, fuck them, okay? Fuck them. And don't worry about their judgment. You do you, okay? Don't try to change your behavior in a way that achieves the, acceptance of theists, or their approval. We're not seeking their approval. The whole point of much of the point of atheist activism is to just be us the way we want to be without trying to constantly get theist approval.
You make a really good point there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. There's that. Okay, so there are some super chats. Do you want to check those out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll run through these quickly. Alan Ferguson says, you earned your keep tonight, Armin and Christy. That's fair. Coming at it from a lot of different directions today. Appreciate that. Let's see. Darth Gently says, energy is the capacity to do work. Work refers to an action done on an object whereby an applied force causes a displacement of that object. Signed, Professor Dave. I actually really appreciate that clarification. And then finally, John Doan says, what do you think of the hashtag desert murder manuals? Bible, Quran, Torah, religious ideas kill. I love you all. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the desert murder manuals. Do you have any comments, Armin?
No, but I'm interested now.
Yeah.
Sounds fascinating. Yeah. Oh, so that was it? Okay, so... Oh, we just got another super chat I can see from Native Atheist. Thank you so much for that. So, thank you so much for being here today, everyone. This is our last live episode ever. No, not ever. Of the year. But don't worry, next week we will air our holiday specials at our normal broadcast time. So keep tuning in. It has been great being here with you today. Christy, I should read that more naturally. Let's forget this. Christy, it was such a great show. No, seriously, this was a great show. I really enjoyed doing this show with you. So
yeah, no, this was a great time. I'm still hoping that our Most High God will hear me and show us that He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to die. We're wrapping it up here, so it better happen soon. But this was a great time, God or no God.
Yes, guys. Yeah, I like. So, guys, match us, crew. Match me and Christy together again because I really enjoyed the stream. But I think, if any theists want to say that, oh, well, your prayers were not genuine, even if these prayers were not genuine, I could promise you that I had genuine prayers. I had genuine prayers towards God, to both Jesus and to Allah. So you can't use that as an excuse to run away from the fact that your God has no evidence. So keep trying. All right, guys. See you again next stream. And thank you, everybody. And thank you for all the super chats. Yeah, we got a lot of them today. So thank you. Bye, guys. Mwah.
Oh, for real this time.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.